Imagine Italy, not the vibrant land of art and culture we know today, but a battleground. For almost 20 years, from 535 to 554 AD, the Gothic War raged across its beautiful landscapes, leaving a trail of destruction. The once proud cities of the Roman Empire, jewels like Rome itself, were starved, sacked, and left in ruins. The fertile fields of Campania, once overflowing with grain, lay fallow, stained with the blood of countless soldiers. The Gothic War was a tragedy for all involved, a stark reminder of the terrible human cost of conquest and ambition. This was a war that almost destroyed Italy. It was a conflict so devastating that its scars would linger for centuries. The war pitted the Eastern Roman Empire under Emperor Justinian I against the Ostrogoths, a Germanic people who had carved out a kingdom in Italy. It marked the end of an era, the final act in the long, slow decline of the Western Roman Empire. In the bustling heart of Constantinople, far from the ravaged fields of Italy, reigned Emperor Justinian I. A man of immense ambition and unwavering belief in his own destiny, Justinian dreamt of restoring the Roman Empire to its former glory. He yearned to reunite the East and West, to bring the lost provinces of the old empire back under his rule. Justinian saw himself as a new Augustus, destined to usher in a new golden age for Rome. The Western Roman Empire had fallen centuries earlier, overrun by waves of Germanic tribes. Yet, the memory of Rome's grandeur lived on, a potent symbol of power and authority. Justinian believed that by reclaiming the West, he could solidify his own legitimacy and secure his place in history. The reconquest of Italy was central to Justinian's grand vision. Justinian assembled a formidable army, led by his brilliant general Belisarius. He poured vast sums of money into the military campaign, determined to see his dream of a reunited empire realized. Standing in the way of Justinian's ambitions were the Ostrogoths, a powerful Germanic people who had established their own kingdom in Italy. Led by their king, Theodoric the Great, they had overthrown the last vestiges of Roman rule in Italy decades earlier. The Ostrogoths were not barbarians, however. They had adopted much of Roman culture and law, and under Theodoric's rule, Italy had enjoyed a period of relative peace and prosperity. The Ostrogoths had no desire to be absorbed back into the Eastern Roman Empire. They had fought hard to establish their own kingdom, and they were prepared to defend it fiercely. They were a proud warrior people, skilled horsemen and fierce fighters. The death of Theodoric in 526 AD created a power vacuum in the Ostrogothic kingdom. Internal divisions and rivalries weakened the Ostrogoths, providing Justinian with the opportunity he had been waiting for. In 535 AD, Justinian unleashed his most trusted general, Belisarius, upon the Ostrogoths. A brilliant military strategist and a master of both cavalry and infantry tactics, Belisarius was a commander of legendary skill. At the head of a well-equipped Roman army, he landed in Sicily, determined to make the Ostrogoths pay for their defiance. Belisarius's campaign began with a series of stunning victories. He swiftly conquered Sicily, then crossed the Straits of Messina and marched north into the Italian mainland. The Ostrogoths, caught off guard by the speed and ferocity of the Roman assault, found themselves on the defensive. City after city fell to Belisarius's forces, including Naples, Rome, and Ravenna. The speed and decisiveness of Belisarius's victories sent shockwaves through the Ostrogothic kingdom. Just when it seemed that the Ostrogoths were on the verge of collapse, a new leader emerged, Totila. A charismatic and skilled warrior, Totila breathed new life into the Gothic resistance. He rallied his people, promising them victory against the Romans and a restoration of their lost kingdom. Totila was a cunning strategist and a fearless leader, and he would prove to be a formidable foe for the empire. Totila understood that he could not defeat the Romans in a conventional battle. The Eastern Roman army was too large, too well equipped, and too experienced. So Totila adopted a different strategy, a war of attrition. He would avoid large-scale engagements, instead relying on guerrilla tactics, ambushes, and swift raids to harass the Roman army. Totila's strategy proved remarkably effective. He recaptured Rome twice, forcing the Romans to fight for every inch of territory. Frustrated by the stalemate in Italy, Justinian dispatched a new commander to finish the job, Narses. An experienced general and a eunuch who had risen through the ranks of the imperial court, Narses was a shrewd strategist and a ruthless tactician. He arrived in Italy with a fresh army, determined to crush the Gothic resistance once and for all. In the summer of 552 AD, Narsis's army confronted Totila's forces at Taginae, near the modern city of Gualdotadino. The Battle of Taginae would prove to be a decisive turning point in the war. Narses, aware of the Ostrogoths' reliance on their cavalry, devised a cunning battle plan. He deployed his infantry in a crescent formation, with his most elite troops in the center. On the flanks, he placed his archers, armed with powerful composite bows. Totila, confident in the strength of his cavalry, ordered a frontal charge against the Roman center. The Ostrogoths, however, found themselves caught in a deadly crossfire. Finally, Totila himself fell, struck down by a Roman arrow. The Battle of Taginae shattered the Ostrogothic resistance. Though pockets of resistance remained, the Goths were leaderless and demoralized. Narses pressed his advantage, pursuing the remnants of the Gothic army and laying siege to their remaining strongholds. One by one, the last vestiges of Ostrogothic power in Italy crumbled. The final act in the Gothic War was a tragic one. The remaining Ostrogoths, realizing the futility of their situation, made a desperate plea to Narses. They offered to leave Italy peacefully and never return, taking with them only what they could carry. Narses, however, refused their offer. He was determined to crush all opposition and secure Italy completely for the empire. Finally, in 554 AD, after almost 20 years of war, the last Ostrogothic resistance was crushed. Justinian had achieved his dream of reuniting Italy with the Roman Empire. Yet his victory came at a terrible cost. The Gothic War had been one of the most destructive conflicts in European history. Italy, once the heart of a thriving empire, was in ruins. Its cities were depopulated, its fields were fallow, and its economy was in shambles. The war had lasted for almost 2 decades, and in that time, countless lives had been lost. Both Roman and Goth had suffered terribly. Some historians have argued that Justinian's victory in the Gothic War was a Pyrrhic victory. The cost of the war, in terms of human life and economic devastation, was so great that it left the Eastern Roman Empire severely weakened. The Gothic War was a watershed moment in Italian history. It marked the end of the Roman Empire in the West and the beginning of a new era. Italy, once a unified entity under Roman rule, would remain fragmented for centuries. The war paved the way for the rise of new powers in Italy, including the Lombards and later the Franks. The war also had a profound impact on the cultural landscape of Italy. The influx of soldiers and settlers from the east brought with them new ideas, customs, and traditions. The Byzantine influence on Italian art, architecture, and religion would be felt for centuries. The war also contributed to the decline of urban life in Italy. Many cities, once thriving centers of commerce and culture, were destroyed or abandoned during the conflict. The Italian peninsula, once the heart of a vast empire, was now a patchwork of competing kingdoms and duchies. Yet, from the ashes of this conflict, a new Italy would eventually emerge.